Okay, so Drew, I have now done all this.
Okay.
I prepared for like months on end.
Right.
And it's the morning of. I just woke up. And I've showered. And I've eaten breakfast.
Shower.
Shower.
Please shower.
Go watch my last video. I talked for like 10 minutes about that.
And if you please, or at least shower the day before. I don't know, like, because sometimes like
don't be stinky.
Yeah, try and do your best to avoid. Yeah, making the event unpleasant for other people around you.
Are you hinting at me? Are you hinting at me?
No, you always.
I smell glorious.
You always look great.
Aw, you're so nice. Okay, so I just ate breakfast. I just showered.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, where are you at? Are you at the hotel?
I'm at home.
You're at home.
And I'm about to leave to go to my PTQ.
Okay, so you're leaving.
Or the hotel or whatever.
It's a local PTQ.
Local right? PTQ. I'm just about to go to my PTQ.
Okay, so you're driving to your local PTQ.
Right.
Make sure you have your deck.
Oh shoot! I forgot it. It's at home.
Yeah, don't do that. I may have done that once.
What?
Yeah.
Did you win?
I was 5-1. If you don't count my round 1 loss, because I forgot my deck and had to go get my deck.
Loser.
Yeah, so I did not make top 8 at that event. I made top 16.
That's nothing.
But I forgot my deck round 1, so yeah, a little awkward.
Bring your deck.
Bring your deck. Make sure you have your deck. So why don't you tell us a little story about knowing where the event is?
Why? I don't understand why you would say something like that. Okay, so we go to Vegas, right? I'm just gonna break into the story. And so because we're dumb, maybe not. Maybe that's not dumb. Maybe it's smart. But we drive overnight to go to Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't drive and get a hotel, and that's like how the babies do it. We're men.
Yeah. You don't need sleep.
So we just leave at 2 in the morning, get there at 9, play the PTQ.
Yeah.
So we're driving down there, and we're actually getting pretty close to time. Like we got into Vegas with like an hour to get to the PTQ.
Yeah, I think an hour 45 minutes.
Something like that.
We had a reasonable amount of extra time.
Right. We felt pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
So we get some gas. We're doing great. We're almost at the card shop, and one of the guys in our car is like, "Guys, I think it's at actually the convention center across town." And we're like, "What?" Like,
we're like, "No, it's in this card shop." Yeah.
So we're driving down the road. We see the card shop, and there is no one at the card shop. It is empty. Lights are off, and we're like, "Oh man!" So we start calling around, and we figure out it's 30 minutes away, and we were 30 minutes until the PTQ started.
Yeah,
And it was awful, but we made it on time.
Well,
because they started 3
because
hours.
they started like 2 hours late. Yeah, we're like, all right, we're here. And there's a whole lot of nothing going on. All right.
It's sweet. But know where the event is. Like, know for sure where it is.
Yeah, know where the event is.
That was your fault.
Yeah. Make sure you actually have a way to get to the event.
Yes.
I had that happen at Salt Lake City, day 2.
You couldn't get to you could have called me.
I
didn't know you.
It was bad. It was really bad.
I wouldn't have picked you up from Ogden.
It was really bad. I wasn't even in Ogden. I was in Eden.
Oh, I don't know where that is.
Yeah, because my roommate's like, I was supposed to take his car. Kind of lost his keys.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah, have you not heard this story?
No.
Yeah, so I make day 2 at the Grand Prix.
Right.
And I get to Joe's apartment. I'm like, yeah, he's like, we can just use Jason's car or whatever to get up there. Because Aaron was really sick. Like, Aaron was, like, dying sick. Like, oh, I'm dying. Like, I'm not going to go back. Because he was planning on going, whether he made it or not, on Sunday to trade and stuff. But he's like, I'm so sick, I'm not going to go. So then I'm like, well, I can just use Jason's car or whatever. Because I'm really trying to avoid driving my car to Salt Lake because my car gets terrible gas mileage.
Right.
And so, show up. That's fine. I may have stayed up a little too late, but it's not a big deal. You don't need sleep, right? You don't need sleep for these events.
Well, a little bit, maybe. I got really sick in Boise because I didn't sleep.
So we wake up, and we can't find his keys.
Sweet.
Yes.
Well, so what did you do?
I missed round 1.
No way.
Yeah,
did
I missed
you
round
really?
1. Yeah.
That sucks.
It was pretty bad.
Did you win the GP?
No.
Oh.
No. Did not even finish in the money. So, anyway,
sucks.
so moral of the story is make sure you have a way to get to the event.
Yeah, and make sure you have a deck. Anyway,
yeah. Don't do what I do.
Don't do what this guy, and don't do what I did either.
Don't do what I do.
Okay, so the next thing is something that people are very. It's kind of interesting. Like the next topic is scouting. So like when I first started playing Magic, when I was kind of getting into the competitive scene, I didn't even know what that was. I didn't really care about it at all.
Yeah.
And then like as I became more and more competitive, I learned about it. And I thought it was something all the competitive players did.
Yeah.
Which is scouting is where you like go to the tournament, you fill out your deck list or whatever, and then you walk around and like look at other decks and try and understand what the metagame is like in the room. So I went to Denver and we made a big deal about this, looking around and finding those decks and came back and talked about it. And turns out it's kind of a big waste of time.
I don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that big a deal.
Because you're gonna see. What did you say? You're gonna see 15 decks out of 500.
Yeah, I mean, if you're at a like, let's take the Grand Prix again for example. There was what, like 1,100 people or whatever, right? So
yeah, 1,100.
How many decks do you really think you're gonna see? Even if, let's say, you even see 200 decks, that's a lot of decks to see just by walking around, and you're actually able. You'll say you're like have an awesome memory, and you're like, there's 39 Wolf Run decks and 27 Delver decks and whatever. You only saw 200 decks. You didn't see the other 900 decks or whatever. And even like let's say the field is, and this actually happened once, I think, for a WoW event I went to at Nationals, one of the ones I made top 16 at. And I was playing
one of the many where I made
I was playing the really popular deck at the time, and everyone was like, "Oh, I think there's going to be like 50% of the field is going to be this deck or whatever." And I played, out of 9 constructed rounds on day 1, I played that match 3 times. So let's assume they're right, and that 50% of the field was that deck. I didn't play it 50% of the time, right? I played it because variance will play a role in your matches that you play. So yeah, scouting to me just I don't think it's that big a deal. I'm actually a much bigger proponent of be comfortable enough in your deck choice that you don't get stressed out about what's going on around you, where you're like, oh my god, like I'm playing, I don't know, like I'm playing zombies, and I saw some deck and some guy had 4 Pillar of Flames and 4 Celestial Purges and 4 Snapcasters in his main deck, like, and you freak out because you're, like, because that deck crushes your deck or whatever. Like, you can't get that wrapped up in your head, because if you do that, like, you're gonna pick another deck, and then it's not going to do well, and then you're never going to play the guy that had 4 Pillar of Flames, and you're just going to lose to like all the other decks. So to me, what other people are doing, not that big a deal.
Yeah,
so.
That totally makes sense. Absolutely. Now, of course, people always talk about sleeping and eating before the event is always really important.
Yeah.
And like it is in like a literal sense. Like, yes, like science.
Yeah.
Stupid science.
Yeah. Obviously, like if you have adequate sleep, you'll probably be thinking clearer, and if you've eaten enough, you'll have more blood sugar and stuff, so your brain will be a little bit more active and stuff. But yeah, I've heard some players, like I think PV was saying that he's like, it's not that big a deal if you don't get enough sleep or whatever. It's probably better to do that. Like, I'll do that actually, sometimes, like, but what I'll do is, like, at Nationals, for example, last year at WoW, I was like, all right, I don't feel like I need to play test these matches because I know my deck and I feel comfortable with it, and I'd rather just get a good night's sleep. Or the day before, when I'm like, make day 2, and I'm like, I'm not going to stress too much about draft because I don't feel like I can jam a million games in with draft and pick up the format. It's better for me just to go and get some sleep. So, yeah, I mean, like, definitely, like, if you have the opportunity to get sleep, I would say go for it. But sometimes you have to drive to Vegas at 3 in the morning, and there's nothing you can really do about it. So.
Good thing one of us won the PTQ.
Yeah.
And it was not me.
No.
This guy won!
Yeah, I did. He's doing his impression of when I won. I don't cheer when I win.
The guy scooped up his cards and Drew's like,
Hey, it was a long day, alright?
Good game. Ridiculous.
I don't think it was quite like that.
It was more like,
yes, I was puking all over the table. I think I just let out a sigh. I was like, alright, good game.
It was really funny. Okay, so stay hydrated.
Yeah, I think at the very minimum, trying to get water is good. Like, you want to make sure, because like getting a headache sucks in the middle of the day and all that stuff. So at the very minimum, try and drink some water.
So let's talk about how because you do this all the time. Mm-hmm. How do you know if you're going to play or draw for the top 8?
You kind of just have to get a feel for how tie breaks work.
Okay, cool. Let's move on.
You're like, let's not go over this complicated stuff.
You gotta get a feel for it. All right, that was good. Check.
That's actually one of the more difficult things. Honestly, like, I'm not even 100% at it. I know it involves, like, you want to figure out, like, what the minimum point's going to be that makes the top 8. Do you think you're going to make the top 8? Blah, blah, blah. You know, honestly, just go undefeated for the first 5 or 6 rounds, and then you can draw your way in. It's really easy.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I was number 1 in the standings in Vegas.
Yeah.
Then I lost.
Yeah.
That was the worst.
I think I was number 7 in the standings.
Really?
But that's because I took 2 draws.
Because you stink.
Because I was 5-0.
I was 6-1.
And I'm like, I'm 5-0. I can draw. Yeah, I can draw twice. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think a good way. I read this on Reddit actually somewhere. Someone said a good way to kind of get some practice a little bit is to, like, at your FNM, ask like the round before.
Right.
Ask if you can see the standings.
Yeah.
And then just kind of for fun, try and kind of figure it out a little bit. And be like, okay, so, and then look at the standings, like, all right, so if, like, this guy wins, what position will he be in?
Yeah.
Just kind of get some practice.
Yeah.
And then, like, when the standings actually happen, you can look and go, oh, I was right. Okay, I get this. So I was wrong, and I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not 100% good at it. I'm okay at it. I'm not great. But
just don't have a friend like Todd Anderson.
Why would I not want Todd Anderson?
It doesn't Todd Anderson. No, you do. I think he's awesome. But didn't he have that story where he told a kid they could both draw in to get into top 8? And then only Todd got into top 8?
I have not heard this story.
Yeah, he totally did that. So maybe it wasn't Todd Anderson.
Maybe it wasn't. Todd Anderson's like, I never did anything like that.
No, but someone did that once. Where they're like, no, I swear, we can both make top 8. It totally makes sense. So they drew.
Yeah.
And then the pro player made it into top 8, and the other guy didn't.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
We don't want friends like that.
Yeah, generally when I've drawn into top 8, but they're in the standings the last round before, I'm generally like 4th or 5th or somewhere like where it's like I'm comfortably, like, if I draw, even if everything goes wrong, I'll still make top 8 or whatever.
That's true.
So yeah, like
if you're 10th, you don't want to draw into top 8.
Yeah, you definitely, if you're 10th, I don't think you can draw. Is my guess. So I would say if you're probably like 6th or 7th, you might just want to err on the side of caution and play. But it's one of those things you'll pick up as you're learning, like as you're going to the tournaments and stuff, because it all involves like how many other people have your record, how many people above you have your record, how many people below you have this record, which then means if they win, do they have a better record than you, or do they have a worse or an even record with you? And then, like, what are your tie breaks, which is like your opponent's match win percentage, like what are your tie breaks, that kind of stuff. So
awesome. The next important thing is to know that you should always use the judges.
Yes.
Like using the judging staff, that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be a little bit awkward, especially if you haven't done it very much, to like judge, like raise your hand, and like it's kind of weird feeling at first.
Yeah, don't do absolutely 100%. If you're like, I don't understand this interaction, I don't understand this rule, or your opponent did something and you're like, I don't think that's right, do not hesitate to call a judge.
Absolutely. That's why they're there.
Yeah, throw it up there, say judge, wait for them to come over or whatever. So yeah, and I actually use the judges even for stuff where I think I'm right, like I know what I'm doing, but like I'm like 90% where I'm like, there's that little bit of maybe I'm not 100%. I'll call a judge over. It only takes like an extra 30 seconds or whatever out of your match, and if it's something that takes a little bit of extra time, then you know what, they'll give you a time extension, not a big deal, shouldn't really interfere with the match too much.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and if you're not comfortable with the decision that they made, I've had this happen twice actually. At
yell and scream
at WoW events, yeah, you should throw a temper tantrum.
Okay, got it.
Don't do that. Appeal to the head judge. So if one of the judges comes over that's not a head judge and they say this is the ruling and you think they're wrong, say, you know what, I want to appeal to the head judge.
Don't be a jerk about it.
Don't be like, that's not the way it works. Just be polite. Just say, you know what, I want to appeal to the head judge. I want to make sure this is right, and the head judge will come over. And
what happened with you with WoW?
This happened twice actually. So once at day 2 at Worlds and once at day 2 at Nationals, judge came over and was like, because we had questions, we called the judge over. Judge said, this is how it works. And I'm like, I think that's wrong. And I was like, can we appeal? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. Head judge came over, ruled against the previous judge's ruling, so ruled against them, and ruled what I thought was the correct way to rule. And then the second time this happened, at Nationals, I believe, we called the judge over. He said, this is how it works. And I said, I don't think that's right. Oh, actually, I didn't even say that. I said, because I was actually playing for top 8 at this point. Like, whoever won this match was guaranteed a top 8 slot. So I was like, you know what, like there's a lot on the line here, and it was game 3. I'm like, there's a lot on the line here. I really want to make sure the ruling is correct, and that I think that's how I phrased it, something like that. Not even, you know, so I was like, can I just appeal it and get the head judge? Head judge came over, ruled against what the previous judge ruled, and ruled it differently. So I don't think I've had this issue with a Magic.
The Magic judges are usually really good.
Yeah, and generally they come over and they say, this is the way it works, and I just go, all right, sounds good to me. Like, I've not had one where I'm like, it doesn't sound right to me. So, you know, odds are at a Magic event you probably won't have to appeal, but sometimes you do. I actually had to do that at the trial. You were there, remember, when I was like, because we were asking about the play-draw rule in the top 4, because, like, I was like, well, I'm first in the standings, so I get to play. And so we called the judge over, and he's like, have you selected a way or whatever to randomly decide who goes first? I'm like, that's not what I'm asking you. Like, I want to know, do I get to decide, or are we supposed to randomly decide? And then he's like, I didn't know. So then we're like, where's Jeremy? But, yeah, cool. So don't be afraid to use the judges. If you think the ruling is wrong, appeal. But once the head judge makes the ruling, you pretty much have to stick with that.
Yeah.
And even if you are like still like, I think that's wrong, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to go with it and keep playing the game or the match or whatever with however you rule.
Whatever the head judge says goes.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
The last tip we have for like the day of the event, kind of the general day events, is be nice to your teammates. Like if you drop out because you stink, go get food for your teammates.
Yes.
Because it stinks not being able to eat all day long.
Yeah, be nice, get them some food. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. If you go get them a hot dog or something like that, just something so that way they, get to eat a little bit. So yeah, like it's a nice thing to do. You would like it if you're doing well and don't have a chance to slip out and get some food yourself. So yeah,
absolutely.